Hey, Dustin.
Yes, dear.
I think we're live.
What?
Weird.
It is weird. Oh,
It's
yep,
like
the little
it's like we're live and stuff.
interesting.
I need to put my mic somewhere else because I can't see my other monitor. This is a big
Put it above the
problem.
monitor, like I do. Oh, see, there it is.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah. It's the $20 stand that if you touch it the right way, it falls over.
That's not all that great.
Well, it's weighted, but you know, if you're a little too aggressive, it tends to get a little unstable.
Clipboards are hard.
Indeed.
We're totally going to be live as we're going to start the show as soon as I can tweet a link to the show. Copy and paste, man. It's tough, guys. It's tough stuff. There we go. A tweet.
The worst is between operating systems when you're using like a remote console.
No, there's no remote consoles. It's just from one monitor to the other.
Oh, so you're running cubes, right? They're virtual applications.
No, it's just that copy and paste is too difficult for me currently.
That's okay. I understand. We all understand.
All right, let's get this show going.
Wow.
Welcome to the Iron Sysadmin podcast, your source for IT news, commentary, and a healthy dose of paranoia. Hold on, folks. I'm pouring a beer. It's important stuff here. I don't want to spill it.
Where's the sound effects?
Not quite. A little too much head on my beer. Hey, all right, folks. Welcome to episode 40. 40 episodes.
40.
40.
Wow.
I mean, imagine that, right? That's got to be some milestone, right?
And I don't think I've recorded 10 yet.
Maybe. You've been here since somewhere in the 20s, haven't you?
All right. Yeah, but I haven't made it for every episode. So maybe over 10, but not 20.
Not 20. Not 20.
No, for sure. I'll admit it.
All right, folks. Welcome to another train wreck of an iron sysadmin.
Yes.
So I'm your host. Sysadmin. I'm your host as usual, Nate, and as you can hear, there's Dustin over there.
Hello.
Jason has not joined us because apparently he's too good for this show anymore.
Yep, he turned his back on us.
He's doing something like eating dinner at the moment.
Oh, come on.
I mean,
who eats dinner?
Who needs to eat? I thought
eating? The new fad diet was to skip dinner.
Eating is too much.
Indeed.
Oh, we have a viewer. Hi, Robert. Welcome to the chat.
Hello, Robert.
All right, I guess we'll dive into the news. Hey, have you heard about this GitHub thing?
GitHub? You mean GitLab?
No. GitHub, not GitLab. GitLab is the one you get to host on your own.
Oh, I knew that. I think GitLab's better anyways. What about GitHub?
I really don't know what to think about this. And I don't know. I'm both scared and hopeful at the same time. Microsoft has apparently paid $7.5 billion with a B for GitHub.
I can't get over that. I cannot get over that.
$7.5 billion. So somebody I mean, they paid it in Microsoft stocks, apparently. So take that for what it's worth. I mean, Microsoft seems to be a successful company, so I think their stocks are worth something.
Well, yeah, but I don't know. I would rather take the money. You know, it's like winning the lottery in the U.S. You can either take the annuity or you can take the cash. Even if the cash is less, you have the cash and you have to pay taxes too. But I don't know. I think there's probably some interesting legalese around that as well, as far as what they can use from it, et cetera, et cetera. It's interesting. It's an interesting strategy.
7.5 billion. I just can't get over that. I mean,
me either.
I got to be honest. GitHub to me is more like a utility than anything else.
Oh, sure.
Like, I don't know much about it. I don't know much about the community behind it. I'm not a developer. I'm a sysadmin, right? I know of GitHub. I know it's a staple on the internet. I know a lot of developers depend on it. But yeah, it feels like this little homegrown community that, like, the big guy has just come in and said, "Here, take some money. I will take your community off your hands. Turn around and don't look back.
Give us the power to all the projects."
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Microsoft has been putting a bit of work into GitHub lately.
Yep.
They've been a big contributor.
Yeah.
They've open sourced a number of their own projects through GitHub, PowerShell,
including
the
.NET
.NET framework.
Who never thought?
The Edge JavaScript engine? I mean, who would want a JavaScript engine browser anyway? That's what I just said. The Edge Java. Didn't I say that? Edge?
Delay. There's a delay. I forget.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. So yeah. I don't know. I just don't know how to feel about this.
I hear you, man.
Yeah.
The only thing I have on my GitHub account, my public GitHub account, the only thing it's in a public repo is a README that points to my GitLab account.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. No, I have. Let's see. I think the only thing I've put on GitLab, there's some of the code for the Derby is up there.
Okay.
Oh, the container code for the DEF CON 610 flags for the pub crawl, if that ever comes to fruition. They're up there because I need that to be public. Cool. Yeah.
I would love to be able to do that with you guys. It's hard to get down there.
It
never works out.
It'll be cool stuff if we ever actually get the momentum going on it. That's the hard part, right? Everyone's busy. Everyone has stuff they have to do, and I mean, you know how it goes.
I know how it goes. I'd be more than happy to help remotely if I could. I mean, like I said before to you, I'm a green coder. I'm not nearly as experienced as you are, but I'm useful in some ways.
I mean, comparing yourself to my coding skill would be like comparing a Pinto and a Yugo. I think I'm not a good developer, man.
Dude, you made it much further than I did when we were working on the Wi-Fi controller container. That was cool. Yeah.
How much of that worked when we got to DerbyCon?
That part worked. That was reliable, damn it.
How much of
those calls that I helped develop you to write into the code worked really well. It was an attempt. It was an alpha attempt, and I think it was a really good start for us. Now that, which I know we're going off on another subject here.
It is sort of a tangent.
It is a bit of a tangent.
It's code related. Code and GitHub go together. There, it's related.
It does. There we go. Ding ding. There's a relationship. So Gangroof and I and Xenophage, Nate, Dustin, and that guy that's not here, Jason, we have now taken over the Hack Your Derby contest. So Nate's been a big part of that contest for many, many years. Last year was my second year at DerbyCon. I think, Nate, you've been there every year, right?
Every year but one.
Every year but one. Okay, and I think Jason as well, right?
He's been to every DerbyCon.
Oh, every single one. Well, anyways, out of the three of us, Nate has definitely been involved with it much longer than any of us have, even from just participating. So it was a pretty good transition, to him and I and Jason, and I think this year it's going to be pretty cool. It's going to be a little different for us to be running it instead of just participating.
Yeah. We still got to submit that last year. We still got to get that call for workshop submitted, man.
Yeah,
don't talk too highly yet.
Huh? Yeah, we haven't talked about it either. We have to talk. Yeah. Mostly done. But yeah, it'll be interesting. So what I'm getting at with that is the attack derbies. We're still discussing, but I think we're both in agreement of what we're going to do with it. We're going to integrate it, and I think if we are able to spend more time on it this year, I think it's going to be a better. It was a good start. We got our MVP there. I don't know how viable it was, but it was viable enough to at least attempt to get it going, and that was cool. I mean, we have to commemorate ourselves that we got that far. Well, mostly Nate put it that way.
We can certainly expand on that more as things get closer. I got a couple ideas for that.
Awesome.
But back to the GitHub thing. There's a number of people are speculating that this is some kind of a grab to incorporate the network of developers on GitHub with the network of employers on LinkedIn.
So like MSDN, but
which sounds real smarmy.
Yeah.
It's like the best I can put it, right? I mean,
doesn't
to
it kind
me,
of feel like MSDN all over again? Remember the
I
MSDN?
don't know. I was never on MSDN.
No, I was. I had a little experience. I had a lot of people.
I mean,
very helpful.
I don't know.
Very helpful.
I don't know about you because you got into IT later than I did, simply because of the age difference. When I got into IT, Microsoft was like the big bad guy in the room. They were the ones stealing people's code. They were the ones buying out things that were competitors. They were the ones taking little tiny guys to court over copyright infringement that was utter BS, and they had the money and the lawyers to make it happen. So that gave me a really poor opinion of Microsoft.
For sure.
Now I get it. They're under new leadership, and I like the direction they're going, but I just can't get past that vision of Microsoft. You know what I mean? Like,
it's understandable.
And I don't know. I hope they prove me wrong.
Well, I could tell you this.
I'm afraid they won't.
Well, I mean, you never know. I mean, look at how far Microsoft has come as far as it maturing into the modern. I don't want to say age, but the modern times of where software is going, where technology is going, to open source some of their stuff. I mean, to make cross operating system compatible applications that are very popular. They've always been the bread and butter of Windows. Now who's tired? And it's cool to see them accept that they have to be more universal. But at the same time, is being more universal a bad thing? Like you're saying, are they becoming too relevant? Are they trying to make a niche or infiltrate on a niche that just will turn into corporate greed? Hard to say. I guess
it depends on their motivation.
Yeah.
In the past, Microsoft's motivation has been one and only thing: money. Lots and lots of money. Business practices that get them money. Business practices that force people to purchase their software. Business practices that worm their way into every corporation and force you to get locked into their software stack.
Microsoft tax, they call that.
Now, if it feels like they've moved away from that, or they're working on moving away from it. They've open sourced a lot of things. They've removed some of the dependencies, the requirements for running Microsoft software to make Microsoft stuff work. And I like that. I just hope
I do too.
I hope they stick with it, and I hope they don't destroy GitHub in the process.
Yeah, I hope not. I hope not. I mean, look what they did with OpenSUSE. Now, I'm not an OpenSUSE person. I don't know how much experience you have with it. But
I used SLES, which is their enterprise variant of SUSE.
Okay.
SUSE. I think
SUSE.
It's
SUSE.
It's properly pronounced.
SUSE. Well, so was that years after they kind of took over the operations? Well,
so I wasn't
take over, but
I wasn't aware that Microsoft had anything to do with OpenSUSE.
Yeah, they helped a lot with if I remember correctly, and maybe I'm wrong, they put a lot of money into OpenSUSE years ago, and I think they were the big pushers of developing the patchable kernel, the live patching kernel. You remember years ago? Maybe you don't remember this. I remember, oh my God, Windows Server 2008 R2 was like the current, best, whatever, newest, latest. When they talked about releasing 2012, they talked about having the ability to patch the kernel, or patch the stack without having to restart the actual hardware, but just reloop the software on side and somehow keep a hook. I don't know how you would do that with. I guess I can speculate, but anyways, around that same time, that's when they were putting a lot of investment in OpenSUSE. Sorry, and it seemed like. It seemed like they really had a huge interest in them, but I haven't really heard a lot of rumblings, and I'm not really in that community, so I can't really say,
So 10 years ago or so, we ran SLES, SUSE Linux Enterprise Server, which was, I believe, owned by Novell at the time.
Yes,
and we ran their. They basically had ported NetWare, or pieces of NetWare, to run on top of SLES, so that you could continue running Novell's file services, right, without the old Novell NetWare servers, right?
Okay.
So that's the last I knew of them. Novell was showing some signs of going down, and that was when we migrated off of Novell and onto Samba. and that was, I don't know, 6 years ago maybe.
Okay.
So what hand Microsoft had in OpenSUSE or OpenSUSE or SLES, I don't know. But the last I know of them, they were owned by Novell, and Novell got bought up by
somebody else.
Yeah, somebody else, and it looked like they were going to be chopped to pieces. And I don't know whatever happened to them after that. Once we turned off our last SLES box, I completely lost track of what happened to Novell and SLES. For all I know, they're prospering and still alive. I don't know.
Oh, they definitely are. I mean, they still release it. Well, they used to release their goofy YouTube videos of different things. Because that was, I remember this now. It was a YouTube video about what they were also doing with, you know, that song, "Turned Down for What"? Or not "Turned Down for What"? I'm sorry, not that song. Yep, it's gone.
I think I remember what you're talking about. There was some parody music video from, it was a popular song at the time. I forget what it was now.
Uptown Funk, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Because they were talking about uptime funk, about having the highest uptime, and they were passing the live kernel. And that was around the same time.
Yeah, well, that was, if I remember correctly, that was after we turned off our last SLES box. So maybe the Microsoft stuff happened after that. I don't know.
I don't know, because there's a lot of, I think, if anything, they're just a big sponsor.
Come to think of it, didn't OpenSUSE come to the Windows subsystem for Linux?
Yes. It's in
so
Azure.
Yeah, I guess they are still around then, huh?
Yeah, here it is. SUSE and Microsoft Strategic Alliance. Partnership spans over a decade. Blah, blah, blah. Seamless integration of open source software with Microsoft Azure. Seamless. Single pane of glass? No?
Single pane of glass.
Anyways, go ahead. Okay, so I've completely derailed that. Continue.
Yeah, so anyway, that's there's two articles in the show notes. One's from the Hacker News. The other is from Slashdot regarding the GitHub thing. Another interesting thing that I thought we'd talk about, at least briefly, is there's apparently a petition of developers that are opposing the purchase, Microsoft's purchase of GitHub.
Okay, because how many people? I'm not laughing at them. I look at the corporate size of that, and it's like, I don't know. It's kind of like the White House asking.
Where is it? A petition seeks to stop Microsoft from buying GitHub, has garnered support from more than 400 developers.
No, sorry guys, not big enough.
I don't think it's gonna work.
I hate to tell you, but I don't think that's gonna work.
Let me see this. The article is from a few days ago. Let me see if it's loading. Come on, load. There's 1,019 signatures now. Oh, 1,020. It just went up to 1,023. Maybe our listeners are signing the petition.
Are we impacting this?
I don't know. 1,027, 28. I think this counter is bogus.
Probably. Refresh. Well, no. Here, I'll try it on my petition against. Oh, spelling's hard.
It's at 1,034 now and stopped.
It stopped?
Yeah.
What?
It's on change.org, so I mean, it must have great backing.
Linus Torvalds requests GitHub to stop using. Oh no, it's getting their name. Whoa. Oh,
if you go to the Slashdot link in the show notes, there's a link to the petition in like the third paragraph.
Roger. I thought you were Googling.
No.
Petition. There it is.
Yeah.
Hi. So how many did you say?
It says Bill Gates signed 5 minutes ago. What's that?
I see 1,020. So it's counting up. Hold on. Let's let it finish.
I think it was just at the time that the counter was counting up to show me progress, and that's why.
Yes, to get you to sign. It's a behavioral modification.
It stopped at 1,034. It'd be funny if it was at 1,024.
It stopped at 1,035 for me.
Oh, see, one more signed. Look at that.
Well, yeah, because you didn't refresh your page. Remember, it's behavior modification. Up to that point, that was it. And it was signed 22 minutes ago. Interesting.
The thing with petitions, like, this is a corporate deal.
Yeah.
There's an exchange of money or some sort of, value for a product. The product in this case is GitHub. What good is it?
Popular.
What good is a petition going to do against $7.5 billion in Microsoft shares?
Unless there was a compelling argument, right? Something not right with the deal. Like obviously things you probably wouldn't see publicly, but
petitions work when you're trying to get your school district to not buy a new bus. Petitions work when you're trying to get the government to change a law. Like, that's where petitions work. A business deal? How is a petition going to change a business deal?
Especially with private companies. Well, once
they're two private companies. It's like I walk into Walmart and I want to buy a steak, and then like 1,034 people come up to me and say you shouldn't buy that steak.
I'm not poking.
I'm going to buy it anyway.
Right. And I'm not poking fun at this. It just reminds me of back when Facebook was having those groups of users putting on Facebook that they to Facebook as the address as a recipient. I do not agree with your privacy policy. Yet they already accepted it.
Right.
I'm thinking, guys, do you understand? Oh, well, we created a petition. It's like it's not.
Petitions don't. A petition is a way of getting someone's attention. It's not a way of actually changing something.
No.
It's a way of saying,
I'm not making fun of the GitHub users. I'm not.
Look, this is a thing we don't agree with. We want you to know about it. I have 1,034 people that agree with me. So just read this.
And I mean, I give them credit for trying to do something, but it's not going to do anything.
Great. It's great. Try. Go ahead and try. That's awesome.
Yes.
I don't understand what a petition's going to do here. If you got 1 billion signatures and everyone's saying, "Oh, please don't do this," maybe it'll make the people at GitHub say, "You know, this might be a bad idea. All of our users don't like it."
Or even a protest to move projects from GitHub. Like if a huge number of users got together and did that, I mean, that would
have some effect. But a piece of paper, or in this case, a digital piece of paper that has 1,034 signatures on it that say, "We don't think you should do this." $7.5 billion. I'm sorry.
Yep. Yep.
But yeah, apparently GitHub is not making money.
Well,
or is financially in trouble.
Well, how are they going to make money? Like, what's their monetary?
Yeah. Value? So I mean, that's the upshot to all this.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, look at GitLab, right? GitLab, for example, they have a product you can run standalone, and they did the whole, okay, we offer open source, you can run it. If you want support, if you want some extra features, you pay for it. Right. And GitHub, you get more projects, you can do different things like that. But what is something innovative that you get for paying outside of limitations? I mean, I'm not a big GitHub user, but do they have a lot of the same offerings that GitLab does and the flexibility when you pay?
What GitHub, as far as I know, what GitHub sells is the ability to have private repositories.
Yes. Because you have one for free or something like that, or two.
So if you want to host your project on GitHub and not have the source code open to the world,
why not?
You pay GitHub. But I don't know what else you get from that. Do you get
I don't either. And that's what I don't understand. It's like Snapchat. Oh, we take all these photos and, we're worth this many $1 billion and we turn down Facebook. It's like, okay.
How's that profitable?
Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, so it's I don't know. So what I was trying to say is the upshot of all this is if GitHub is really in financial trouble, and Microsoft wants them badly enough, they're going to give them 7.5 billion in shares.
Yeah.
That means they have an idea on what to do with GitHub. And hopefully that means GitHub is not going to go away. The question,
I hope not.
Right. The question is, what does it turn into?
OneDrive for developers.
Yeah, right. OneDrive for developers. So if Microsoft buys it and they figure out a way to make it profitable without too many changes, then that might be great.
It might be okay. Yeah, they can help out. I mean, if they have the monetary backend to make it better and help them,
that's the thing.
Great. Yeah.
That's the thing, right? So Microsoft doesn't need to make money on GitHub. They need it to sustain. And maybe that's what GitHub's doing right now. And the people that are currently operating it are like, we're not really making any money doing this.
Or Microsoft may have a lot of resources on their platform too.
Right. Microsoft would be like, we've already got the infrastructure. We've already got the money. It doesn't matter if it turns a big profit. We just want to run the thing.
Yep.
Maybe they have their own motives. I don't know.
We'll find out.
Yes, that we will. By the way, back in 2015, GitHub was valued at $2 billion.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Good for them.
I don't know who valued it at that. That was in one of the articles I linked.
Was it maybe there was a possible acquisition back then?
Yeah, maybe. So, I think we talked about GitHub and Microsoft enough.
Indeed.
I'm gonna drink some more beer.
Roger.
I have beer tonight instead of water. I had water last time.
I have both, just in case.
Yeah. Well, I had water before I started recording the show.
I did too.
So yeah. Next up is some happier news. Dustin, we talked about this before the show, and I think, unfortunately, you don't know what I'm talking about. But there was this game.
I have no value add, sorry.
There was this game in the 90s called Descent. And it was this cool sort of three-dimensional shooter.
Yep.
Except you were like spacecraft underground, right? So you're in these like little underground levels, and there's other spacecraft or whatever they are that you had to fight, and there were bosses and all the usual video game stuff, right? It was like a first-person shooter plus three-dimensional space. You go up and down instead of just. It was this weird cross between a first-person shooter and a flight sim, right? So I guess you call it a flight sim, but it's not quite a flight sim, right? Because you're not flying an airplane. You're flying this like. I don't know. It's hard to describe. Anyway, the people who developed Descent and Descent 2, and I think there's a 3, are coming out with a new game called Overload. And from the previews, it looks like it's pretty much a modernized Descent.
It looks pretty awesome from the previews.
And it's awesome.
Oh, May 31st.
So we've... Oh, wow. So it is released now. Awesome. Nice. So, yeah, we linked to the Steam app page for it. It looks like it's cross-platform, which is cool, like many Steam games are. So all of you listeners who run Linux boxes, you can also play this, which is cool.
Nice.
So
it has 141 overwhelmingly positive reviews.
Yeah, I mean, to anyone who liked Descent, this game looks like it should be awesome, and I look forward to trying it out one of these days. So
is it online too? You have online capabilities, or is this just standalone?
I didn't read too deeply into the multiplayer capabilities, but there are multiplayer capabilities.
I would love to join you in a match, if that's the case.
Someday.
Indeed.
Maybe some night we'll have an Iron Sysadmin episode where we get together and play Overload instead of actually recording a podcast.
Okay, and I challenge you this. If we do that, we must also visit some classic games, such as... Go ahead.
Oh, okay. You wanted me to pick one?
Yeah, you pick one.
Hold on. It just so happens that I found stashed away in one of my old boxes from my old bedroom when I was a teenager. Hang on.
I just saw a preview of it. I'll let you turn it around. And it's signed?
Hold on, people can't see it. This is from the Ultimate Doom. This was like the wall hanger poster with all the developers' signatures on the bottom. I'm going to get this thing framed.
You should.
I'd been looking for this because I remembered having it and I couldn't find it. Now I've found it.
Awesome, dude.
I'm not.
You really should frame that baby.
It has some pinholes in it from hanging it on my bedroom wall.
That's okay.
I think that's okay. I'm fine with that. It's just, yes, I'm happy I found the thing. I'm keeping it up here safe.
Very nice.
Away from the children.
Hey, what about Half-Life 3? Did you hear that was getting released?
I think a game of Doom amongst the Iron Sysadmin co-hosts would be awesome.
What about Half-Life 3?
I never played Half-Life. Never a Half-Life fan.
That was a joke. Half-Life 3 doesn't exist. Everybody always talks about like Half-Life 2.
Well, there you go. Now you know how much I know about Half-Life.
I only ever played the original. I don't think I ever played Half-Life 2. But they always tease about HL3. You know, oh, hey, maybe Gabe Newman.
I know. I mean, we could play Duke Nukem Forever. Which did finally come out after like 15 years or whatever.
Or StarCraft. It's free to play.
StarCraft. There you go. There you go. No, Half-Life came out right when I was in college and starting my career, and right when video games were becoming less a part of my life. So, yeah, I never really played Half-Life.
Roger. That's happening to me now. Last 2 years. I haven't had any time to do anything.
Yeah, I just got Zelda Breath of the Wild for the Switch, and I've been playing that when I have any free moments. Luckily, the kids like to watch me play video games, so sometimes I can just sit down and play games, and they don't complain that they can't watch TV or something. So, yeah, it's cool.
That's not bad.
It's a pretty fun game. Pretty fun game. I'm only, I don't know, 3 or 4 hours into it, so it's not like I'm really deep into it, but it's fun so far.
Cool.
So yeah, there is a new Descent game, and it looks like it's awesome.
Yay.
Overload.
Oh hey, I don't know if you happen to know what episode this is from, but while we're talking about news, you remember we talked about the voice identification-based security, that there was this company that was launching this service and other people can buy into it and basically use your voice as an authentication mechanism combined with other password. What's that?
Maybe.
A voice my password? Yes. No. No. Yeah. So this is probably at least 8 or 10 episodes ago. I just thought of this the other day. So I was talking to a company, credit card company, and automated system, and they said in the alert, the announcement, this call may be recorded, and also we were recording your voice for security purposes to reference in the future. And I thought about that. That's interesting. So I dug a little bit into it, and they're actually using it to build a two-factor authentication mechanism based on the ID of your voice. So no longer can you call as your wife or your partner to talk to somebody. You have to physically be that person.
I think we covered that specifically on the show.
We did, but we didn't have, I've never actually seen it in action. We've only ever talked about it, and I got to be on the internet. I was like, wow, that's really cool.
That's cool, because I remember I started talking about the podcast Homeland. Homeland? Yeah, Homeland.
Yes, maybe.
And how there was this section on the pod, or on, well, whatever. I won't go too deep into it, but there was a point where they were identifying people based on their voice, and they had to sing the Star Spangled Banner into the phone.
Nice. The whole thing, or just a clip?
Well, no, it was very imagine you call a secretary and she's just bored out of her skull, and she's like, hang on, you have to identify your voice. And then you click over to this thing and you're like, what? And then you start singing, and then at random it cuts you over to the person you were trying to get connected to. Mid-chorus.
Now that would be great. They would not confirm the authentication; they would just switch you over. You're still singing, right. And hello.
Right. So if any of you haven't listened to it, it's a good episodic story of a podcast, Homeland. It's pretty cool. It's by Gimlet, which produced some pretty awesome podcasts. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Anyway, I think we were talking about news. We're only 2 articles in, man. We have 2 more to cover. Can we get through 2 more? This one's not going to take much. Hey, guess what? Can you guess? I'm going to tell you. It starts with CVE.
Is it a number 4? Does it have to do with the 4th position or the 4th in place?
There is yet another. There is another variant of the Spectre CPU flaw, the speculative execution. This one's a speculative store bypass. CVE 2018-3639.
I speculated there'd be another one.
Yeah. I heard about this from Red Hat, but this is from the Hacker News. Yeah. This was the end of May. This came out. It's yet another CPU flaw. And guess what? The patch takes away another 2 to 8% in system performance.
You know what? I think it as a challenge to all app developers out there, we need to start taking more and more resources away and see how efficient code really is, because we've gotten so bloated with these pools of resources and all these different platforms we're using, infrastructures as a service to provide these resources. Let's really become lean and mean. Give us some more patches. Yeah. I think this is all just Intel's way of saying we need a little more money into the CPU market. So we're going to make the CPUs a little bit slower, so you guys have to buy more. The cloud. Oh, by the way, we're going to deliver every operating system is going to be impacted. Yep, here we go. Yeah. Yay. Yeah. What if we run Linux? Would Linux be impacted? I don't know. It's a CPU thing, man. Of course it is. Just stupid. So, yeah. Hey, guess what? There's another. I mean, I think everybody started to sort of guess that when the first Spectre and Meltdown exploits hit, that there were going to be more. Just people are going to start looking at the CPU. They're going to start looking at the speculative branching, and they're going to find all kinds of flaws. And guess what? Here they come. So I think this is just the 4th of many. Uh-oh, what are you holding up there? Oh, this is you have the This Is Fine dog. He's do. He was on fire, though. Light him on fire. Oh, I threw out his fire home. I broke it. It was cardboard. Here, let me get a lighter. That's awesome. Kickstarter. Anyways,
That's cool. A Kickstarter freaking stuffed animal.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. Like a year ago or 2 years ago.
Nice. This is fun.
Famous.dog is the people who are behind it.
Nice. That's great. So you run Mac OS, right? On your fancy shiny Apple device?
I do.
I run Mac OS on my work laptop. I do the podcast on a Fedora machine though. So it's awesome.
I am running a Mac in a Windows environment. It's wonderful. Go ahead.
A Mac in a Windows environment. I'm sure that works really well. I tried to run a Linux desktop in a Windows environment once, and it did not go well.
Well, I thank Microsoft for offering tools that work on Mac. Well,
they didn't then. This was 12 years ago or so.
Yeah,
and it wasn't just Linux; it was Gentoo.
Ooh. Ooh. Yeah, you were really challenging yourself there, sir.
Yes.
Wow.
It didn't last long.
I understand. Anyways,
9to5Mac reports that Apple has unveiled. What was it?
Drum roll, please.
Now I gotta look it up. You got me all like Mojave, isn't it?
Yes,
Mojave. 10.14 Mojave.
Mojave.
Or Mojave, if you want to pronounce it really badly. Mojava. There you go. But it probably doesn't have Java. Didn't they strip that out at some point?
Well, you could use brew.
So it's more like no Java.
No Java.
So yeah, it's packed full of all kinds of new shiny, as you'd expect from Apple, like dark mode.
I can't wait to see that. That's going to be awesome.
Is dark mode just like a new skin for your Windows that's not...
Yeah, so if you look at like YouTube, you have the ability to run it in dark mode. You have like the Reddit app on your phone. You can use different themes, one of them being dark. Yeah. It's just a theme. I think it's nice.
It's just like the window decorations are going to be a darker color. I would actually be happy for that.
Basically, because like right now you can change the menu bar and you can change windows, but it's very limited. You know, you can't really go like complete dark mode. Having
spent the majority of my career in black terminal windows, white borders and white backgrounds bother my eyes.
Agreed.
So I'll be happy for a dark mode.
Same. It'll be really nice. I bet it'll look like knowing Apple.
There's also this feature they're calling Dynamic Desktop, which says it changes your desktop subtly throughout the day. I don't know what the hell that means.
So is this like I don't know if you remember, what was it, Windows Vista? Dare I say that? Where they had the video backgrounds. Remember that? You could set a background of the video. Yeah,
I think Vista do that. That sounds like a performance hog. You remember when Internet Explorer? You remember when Internet Explorer 4 came out and you could put animated GIFs all over your desktop?
Actually, I was a young Wadapon then. I didn't appreciate
you would have been the sort of person that was putting animated GIFs on your desktop.
Absolutely. And if you were on NE, you were lucky to have an active desktop, right?
Active desktop was the thing.
Yeah.
That's what let you do it. You could write an HTML desktop. It didn't last long. I think people very quickly decided, hey, we could do all kinds of nefarious things with this. And Microsoft said, you're right. Let's turn that back off again. It went away with Internet Explorer 5, if I remember correctly.
Which OS was that? Because I remember it being on ME. It was crashing all the time. Active desktop would never.
Internet Explorer 4. Internet Explorer 4 came out when I was running Windows 98, I think.
God. Wow.
I don't think it was 95.
Damn.
Dear Google, when was Internet? Oh, when was Internet invented? Is the autofill it's given me.
Very nice. That webpage is still live.
Least.
HTML standards.
IE4 was released April 1997. That was beta. I ran the beta, by the way. September 1997 is when 4.0 released. I remember that. It was like we were all waiting, or at least I was, because I thought it was going to be so awesome to be able to make an HTML desktop. Then I got it and did it, and I'm like, this is dumb. So why was I so excited for this? It's dumb.
You know what's ironic about Internet Explorer? We should have a discussion about this someday, because I could talk about enterprise apps in Internet Explorer and the love I have for it. And where we're going today. I would have never thought I'd go away. But, you talk about web standards, right? And then you look at Internet Explorer. like I think it was 8 or 9. They introduced HTML5 support, right? And you couldn't really do anything with it until I think 11 because 10 was terrible. It was like the redheaded stepchild,
and then they just scrapped it and went to Edge.
Yeah, and now they just scrapped it. So you look at like, wow, all this effort to get to IE11. IE11's great, and then they go to Edge.
We're just gonna rename that thing and rewrite it to Edge.
Like, it's completely different. Wait, my plugins don't work right? What?
Yeah,
Java. Good luck. Anyways, yeah, we should have a discussion about Internet Explorer, the history of it.
Sure.
Between all of us, we can talk a lot about it.
Yeah, some night when all three of us are on the show, we could give you a history lesson on Internet Explorer.
That would be wonderful. That would be personal goal right there. Talk about be the historians of Internet Explorer for an hour or two. That'd be great.
Sure.
Love and hate. Anyways.
Maybe we'll talk about the history of Internet Explorer while we're playing Doom.
That would be an interesting challenge. I'm sure at some point we stop at maybe 7 or 8 if we make it that far.
It'd be a great episode. So that episode of Iron Sysadmin will have to be cast via Twitch as we're streaming our game of Doom.
Oh boy.
So they're improving screenshots, not like
I like the
functionality. What's that?
I like the way the screenshots
work
now.
So like screenshots will still work the way that they are, but they're adding some newfangled stuff. Like when you take a screenshot, it'll ask you what you want to do with it, if you want to like share it or if you want to save it or whatever.
See, I find that annoying because like on the iPhone, I just want to save it, right? If I take a screenshot, I don't want to immediately say. And now it's convenient too because maybe I just want to temporarily share it and then delete it and not save it. So yes, it can be useful.
Yeah, I mean there's cases where I take a screenshot solely so that I can get like I don't know, a graph that's in a browser window into a document. And I don't want it to save the image. I just want to put it into the document and delete it. So if that if that's a function, then like if I could just put it on the clipboard and paste it, that's how Windows handles it still, right? You can take a screenshot.
Yep. Print screen, baby. Yeah. Unless you're using the snipping tool. The snipping tool is all the rage.
Yeah. And then the other thing is a new gallery, which the gallery in Finder. Like in your browser, in Finder. Mm-hmm. I guess they're revamping that so it actually does a better job of displaying images, which is kind of a good thing.
It'll be nice. I would like to see that. The other thing I like to see too is the I'm really excited about dark mode. I want to see how it looks with all their default apps. It should be pretty rad.
And there's just like a score of other features that they're talking about here, but the gallery thing actually affects me because I do a lot of like paging through images. For different things that I do that are not quite sysadmin related, and the gallery in Finder is adequate, but it's not great. So I'm anxious to see what they do with it. I think there's a screenshot of it here.
Oh, hey, by the way, security and privacy enhancements, greater protection about how apps handle your data, including camera, microphone, and sensitive parts of the file system, such as mail, messages, and backups.
Yay, mail.
So we're extending, I think, like the permission review and understanding of how things work onto the desktop. Is that what that kind of indicates?
I have no idea.
Have to dig into that. Meh.
There's a new app store too.
Finally.
Yeah. I'm just looking forward to an OS that doesn't hurt my eyes.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Well, night mode's kind of nice. That helps. I love being able to use that on the desktop too, besides devices. That helps quite a bit.
Is that different than dark mode?
So it changes like the color. It tries to reduce the amount of blue light coming out of the screen.
Oh, you mean night shift?
Or not night mode. Night shift.
That just gives everything like a sort of a yellow tint.
I like it though. I like it, especially when I podcast. It makes me look like I go out in the sun.
Yeah, there you go.
Here.
So that about covers the news. Unless you want to talk more about Mac OS and dark mode and how much you don't go in the sun.
Haha, I'm good.
All right, moving on then. Got a dozen browser tabs to close now. Because we're done talking about news and stuff.
I was doing the same thing. Great minds think alike.
Close the tabs. Close my notes. My news notes.
Jason, you leave all the tabs open and then know your coworkers and they watch you launch your browser.
You leave all the tabs open forever because you never know when you're going to need them.
He kills me. He kills me.
And then you sync the tabs across all of your workstations so that every machine you ever log into has all the tabs open because you don't want to miss a thing.
Jason, look this up. Oh, okay. Oh, hold on. How many tabs do you have open?
Let me open a new tab.
Do you know which tab you're on? No.
No.
I just open a new window. Okay. Glad those resources are indispensable. Damn it. I don't know. I like.
It's the make fun of Jason episode.
Where is he?
That's what he gets for missing episode 40. That's what he gets for missing episode.
Oh, he better be on episode 42.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So on Wednesday, that is 2 days from today, or June 6th, we have the next DEF CON 610 meetup at Two Rivers Brewing in Easton. So if anybody is in the area, or even if you're not in the area, fly in. It's awesome.
There is a regional airport accessible.
Totally worth flying in for like 2 hours of drinking and hacking. I mean, totally.
Good beer, good food, and good hacking.
Yeah. Yeah. You should talk, man. You're only like, what, 2 hours away and you never make it.
I know. It's hard. Wednesdays suck for me. Just like Mondays are sometimes challenging too. It's just, I don't know.
I think like weeknights in general are troublesome. Yeah. So we're gonna start recording the podcast at noon on a Saturday.
Okay.
That won't work any better. I guarantee it.
Well, probably not
on a weekend.
Yeah. Ooh, excuse me.
And yeah, episode 40. That's our other announcement for tonight. That's totally cool. What did I just do? Somehow. No, I like.
Oh, you.
What the hell? That's neat. Somehow by clicking and dragging my mouse, I joined two lines together.
You did a carriage return. Look at you.
No, totally didn't. Ta-da! I fixed it. Yay.
Carriage return with your mouse.
Word docs are difficult, or Google Docs are difficult. So you got anything cool going on? How's life?
Well, life is great. Started a new job at a company I worked for in the past, different role this time. And this time,
that's like 2 months ago at this point, man.
Yeah, it is. Well, I'm finally kind of settled
unless
in.
You changed jobs again. You didn't change jobs again, did you?
No. I wouldn't be able to do that. I mean, I could, but I wouldn't enjoy that. Yeah, I finally settled. Addressed a lot of the critical stuff, like 24/7 support for production hardware that was missing. Little things like that.
That's not important. Just put it in the cloud, man. Put it on the cloud.
It's called cutting the budget down, right? I mean, save money. Why spend it? Anyways, so one of the tasks we started to go down the road is securing a Windows AD. Now, I'll give you a little preface here. There is, believe it or not, when I left, there was a project to get rid of this machine, and it is still there. So when I say this, do not make fun of me, please. The forest level at my company right now is still running at 2003 R2.
Is it still running on server 2003?
No. 2008 or 08 R2. Sorry. It's a couple 2012 servers, but the DCs are still on 2008 R2. Shows you how long since things have been touched. Also, patching wasn't done for 2 years. Not a big deal. No,
listen.
Anyways,
if you patch a Windows box, it's going to crash.
True. Well, depends. Depends on what operating system. Actually, it doesn't matter. That's another discussion for another night.
Hey, folks, patch your Windows boxes. Hey, folks, you shouldn't patch your Windows boxes.
Patch them, but brace yourself. And if you're using virtual machines, take a snapshot if there are some pretty interesting patches, because you never know.
Patch them, but carefully.
We talk about indispensable resources. If you have it, take a snapshot, right? Anyways,
right.
If you're not running bare metal, God bless you if you are. I understand. So does Nate. So back to where we were. So securing Active Directory. So one of the big vulnerabilities we have, anybody who's running NTLM, is pass the hash, right? You remember pass the hash? Basically, you have a token. No, okay. So pass the hash, I don't even remember what year this was. You could use a tool called Mimikatz, for example, and several other tools that are out there. And you could take a hash from a login event on a machine, Windows machine, and you could basically reverse the encryption quote unquote encryption or salting. Well, actually, it really wouldn't be salting, whatever mechanism it is, thanks to collusion and the encryption. And actually, you get the password so you can use it for nefarious purposes, right? Many mitigations around that is to, you know, secure things like the sysvol from being read by any user, which is where all your group policy objects are, not using the administrator account or being a domain admin, for example, things like that. So, you know, there are ways to mitigate it, but you have to kind of have to think about it. So if we talk about this, some of the things that I've recently changed is I've completely removed the administrative ability for anybody to have domain level privileges for any user account. So that account is completely secured. We talk about administrators. There's the administrators group in Active Directory. Another very powerful group in Active Directory, which basically, we'll add some links here to the show notes so you have them. There's a breakdown of default groups in Active Directory. Some are very, very powerful. That would be the administrators group, domain admins, enterprise admins, and I guess you could incorporate, did I say administrators?
I think you did.
Okay, account operators.
You said domain admins. I don't know about, yeah.
Yeah, so domain admin, enterprise admin, administrators. Those are your top holy crap accounts. There's also another one as well. I'm looking at this up now. That can also be pretty damaging. Schema admins for Active Directory schemas. So that's another privilege you don't typically grant somebody unless they really are going to be doing some interesting things inside of the schema. So I'm going towards the whole like admin-free Active Directory structure. So yes, there are administrators inside of our Active Directory infrastructure for people in my department, right? But they don't have domain level privileges. What I mean by that is leveraging the local admin account. Okay. If you wanted to, work on a server, right? I shouldn't say work. You're maintaining a Windows server. You can easily add yourself to the administrators group instead of being the domain admin account. Many people just use the default admin account, which is part of the domain admin account, to do all of their admin level privileges on their servers, which is actually a really bad idea because if we just talked about pass the hash, you're now storing that token on those machines, and you're basically allowing anybody to pick up that token. So one thing you can do is you can create a separate user that has membership to a group, right? And you put that group inside of a group policy that says anybody who's in this group has local admin rights to a machine, right? Typically, you would see different Windows applications requiring local admin rights for a service account, right, to run a service or an application. So it's a similar process, except you're doing it from the group policy level. Now, the interesting thing about that is you're not eliminating the attack surface, but you're definitely reducing it. So what I mean is you're not really fixing the issue, but you're making it harder, especially if you use separate accounts. So everybody in my department has at least 2 accounts. We have one account for our email, for our desktop access, things like that. We have another account for anything that requires escalated privileges, okay? And there's also a third account that we leverage as well. Now, when we say escalated privileges, I'm talking specifically on the server side. So those escalated privileges are anything outside of domain controllers, right? So, you talk about a file server, you talk about print servers, etc. Anything that requires administrative privileges, you would use this account for, okay? And this account can only log on to those servers, and you can't log into that. You can't use that account to log into any desktop. So there are policies in place in group policy that I've created to localize those privileged user group to only be usable and accessible on a group of servers that do not include the domain controllers. Now you say, okay, what about my local desktops? What about my desktop engineer who's going to be admitting those? Create another account, create a group for all I care, make that account a member of that group, and leverage that for any local admin rights on a desktop, because you can embrace UAC. I know people don't like UAC, but it's very handy for escalating privileges, right? Just like sudo in Linux. Certain things you need to sudo to have the right privileges to do different things. So it's kind of the same idea. And then there are other mechanisms that Microsoft offers with Secure Desktop to run those actions inside of a kind of like I don't want to say virtualized, but it's similar area to perform these actions, kind of a secure manner, right? And then if you take it a step further, you can also obfuscate items, right? So we talk about the default admin account, for example. you set up a domain controller, you have your forest prepped and ready, you start using it. What do you have? You have built-in accounts. One of them being the administrator account. By default is part of enterprise admin, part of administrators, and part of domain admin. So a lot of people don't take the time to either emulate the same access with another account, or just not use the account altogether. So one of the things I did, and this is recommendation from various blogs from Microsoft themselves, is I renamed the default admin account. I also removed the description that said, this is the built-in administrator account, whatever, and I used a fictitious name, which I will not disclose. Actually, very good. Because why not? I just it's near and dear to my heart. It's not me. It's not Dustin Day. I can tell you that. Oh, I said my last name first time ever on the podcast. Shame on me. That's okay. You guys probably already know anyways.
OPSEC fail, guys. OPSEC
totally
fail.
Totally. So Justin J is my name.
Oh, that's perfect.
It's my pseudonym. Anyways, so rename that, and then one thing you can do is create a decoy account, right? So I created another administrator account without privileges other than being a domain user, called it administrator, followed the same exact case, put the built-in description in it, and left it in the same directory. And that is one step that, also one other thing, I set a password I don't know, and I also set password expiration. So if anybody attempts to use that account, if anybody attempts to change the password on the account, I can now find that event and tell where either a service or a person, a threat actor, right, is trying to operate, because they think that account is alive. Now,
a step further would be to have proactive monitoring for that particular event in your event log, and notify you when someone does it.
Don't forget just like your monitoring, folks. Yes.
Not just like, oh, it happened 6 months ago, and I'm seeing it now in my log.
I'm seeing it now after I'm totally screwed. Yeah, right. That's another piece that goes with this, is having a good SIM or any type of log management and record. Not only inventory service, but alerting capability as well. It's very powerful. So that's a very simple technique to help. I mean, like I said, it's not eliminating the issues, but it definitely makes it harder. The harder that I can make, the harder. How can I phrase this? Being on the blue team, purple team, whatever we are considered as admins, being able to make it harder for the red team, the actors, to own something is great, because that gives me time to discover what attempts are being made, which, I mean, if they're sophisticated enough, maybe they've done enough recon and they know what they need to do. There's that possibility too. People are becoming very advanced with their skill sets, but it at least gives me one area that I can not have to regret securing, or I don't even want to say securing, regret
obfuscating
or changing, obfuscating. Yeah, so it helps. If we also talk about the whole admin free Active Directory, you say, okay, well, you have this account secured, you're not going to use it. What about group policy? What about accounts? There are other groups for that. There are less privileged groups to maintain things like group policy objects, which is like your policies that you define for both user and computer level settings, right? There's also the account operator privilege, which allows you to reset basically anything, any password outside of anything that's related to the domain controllers themselves for modification. So you can still have quite a bit of power, but it's limited, and it's less damaging if somebody were to steal those credentials. So I've been trying my hardest not to use that admin account, and I've only ever had to use it once, and that was to give my privileged account group policy access, which, by the way, I went a little crazy, and I actually have a few privileged accounts for special purposes. One for admin use change, or for count changes, right? One for group policy, and like I said, the one account I have for endpoint admins. Yes, it's a little overboard, but it makes it that much harder.
Well, so we've been trying to employ a similar tactic.
Sure.
Basically, the same concept. My user will just be a user. Like my user on the domain will just be me. It'll be the user I log in with.
I have a user on my domain. That's me.
No special rights, no special privileges. Nope. It's just me.
Email and department access for file share.
And then
same here.
And then we have like 3 other naming conventions, or 4 other naming conventions for like me as a GPO admin, and me as a domain admin, and me as a this admin, and me as a that admin. And there's like, I forget how many different scenarios there are.
I failed to mention that. I'm doing the same thing. Very important.
Right.
Because it helps you distinguish between the two accounts. Obviously, you can't have the same named alias, right?
Yeah, right.
But
right.
if you follow some type of method, I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. And I'm back.
Cool. You're the mic didn't pick it up at all. You just
I muted it. Let's talk about timing.
Oh, see that? That's
I speculated.
Reflexes right there. Speculative execution.
I had to. It's fun. It's fun.
So anyway, Active Directory.
Yes. So yes, that's an important thing to do, especially if it's something that you follow and it's a quote unquote department standard. You know what you have to use for different capabilities.
So I don't want to derail you, but we're also taking things a step further, and we're having like our administrative access will only be allowed from certain machines, and those machines are protected VMs.
Yep. So you have a jump box, basically.
I can't even do it from my workstation. I need to desktop into this other machine and then log into it from there.
Let me ask you this: do you have separate domains for? If you can answer this question, do you have separate forest or separate domains for server side of things, separate for the client side, workstations, etc.? No, it's one.
At least not at the moment. I guess we're still designing and building our Active Directory, so it's not currently deployed. So I guess those things could change, but no, at the moment there's different. We have like a play domain that we're calling staging that we can try things out, and then we have a production domain. But no, there's no
really good idea to do that.
Yeah, I mean, we were going to go crazy and have a development version of the domain as well, but then we thought, that's a little too far.
I think that's a little overboard considering how much you have to upkeep.
Yeah. So like in this case, when there's new updates or whatever, we'll apply them to the staging domain, make sure nothing explodes, and then we can do it in prod. If there's a new GPO you want to try out, do it in stage and do it in prod, that sort of thing.
And if you're in a smaller environment and you don't have the resources to do that, I've been there. You can just create like test groups as long as it's not your default policy, because by default policies don't link to an object or a group or a organizational unit unless you actually put them there or link them there. So you can even just create test organizational units, put users there, put groups there, whatever you want to mess with, and workstations, and do the same thing too. You have to be just as diligent or arguably more diligent to make sure you're not applying it everywhere else. But I mean, you can achieve the same thing if you don't have the secondary forest capabilities, or domain, I should say, from a resource standpoint.
Right. Now, you mentioned the default policy. We're sort of under the impression that changes probably shouldn't occur there anyway.
The only changes that you should ever have, and you could blow away the default policy as long as you have a policy to replace it. Like if you blocked inheritance to downstream organizational units or whatever, you could arguably not even use it if you don't want to, but the whole point of it being there is to establish like a standard or a default across your domain for like, length of passwords, which can be different in organizational units. I mean, there's like an attempt from Microsoft to give you like a baseline of things to do, kind of like NIST standards, except actually having a solution that you can work off of. But I would argue you could probably replace it. I think I felt ballsy renaming the admin account.
Well, that's that. I mean, I worked at a place. It was the same Windows environment that I used to run Gentoo in. They did the same thing. The moment they set up any new Windows box, the administrator account got renamed, and the same thing happened on their domain. The admin account was renamed, and I can tell you it works just fine.
Oh, the local stuff you're talking about.
Well, the local admin and the domain admin.
Now, I have a challenge for you. Would you feel comfortable, and I would be comfortable with this, would you feel comfortable disabling the local admin account and pushing an admin account through GPO? Because you could arguably use a recovery mode to get around permissions if you ever absolutely had to.
Yeah.
It would make debugging a pain in the ass, but it's another layer, right? I mean,
yeah, I don't know. I guess I'd have to think through the repercussions there. But
yeah, interesting though, right? Because I was thinking about this, and I'd like to try it out.
You mean just instead of renaming administrator, flat out disable him
completely? Or
you'd have your own domain your own domain admin account.
Not even just a local admin account. Not even domain admin, just local
So
admin.
no domain admin account. That sounds like you're playing with fire, but maybe
no, not across the entire domain. I'm just talking at the a server standpoint, because by default your domain admin members are across the local admin groups. So you can remove that and not even prevent them, even from terminal services, not even allow an administrator to log in.
Yeah, I feel like you'd be setting yourself up for problems, though.
For sure. But I'm talking about the local admin, the user itself.
If your machine suddenly fell out of the domain for some reason, you wouldn't be able to authenticate locally.
There's some caching. I mean, you can adjust it to cache for a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, unless you don't want to cache because it's a risk. I mean, that's a possibility too.
It feels like renaming the local admin and then either setting it to a very long and secure password, or maybe rotating the password on the local admin would be a better scenario.
And that, let me tell you something, rotating them is not an easy thing to do autonomously, unless you want to spend some time with PowerShell. I'm sure it's capable, but how secure is it? How reliable is it? Because you have to be able to store it too.
I'm trying to remember the name of the technology, but there's something.
You're not referring to Javelin, are you?
No, it's a feature of Active Directory, I believe, that you can take a service account and have it generate new passwords frequently.
Third-party solution?
No, I thought it was an integrated. I could be wrong. I could be way off.
Because I know there's a company that does that. They have like a lock server, or what do they call it? Lockbox server, and it rotates all the keys. The entire domain, even Linux.
I was under the impression that this is a capability of Active Directory. When my coworker listens to this podcast, he's going to tell me, you were talking about this, and no, it doesn't work that way.
Well, we could have a series
or something. I'll correct myself on the next show,
because I could be wrong with talking about some of the techniques I've seen. Maybe there are better ways to do it, but the techniques I'm referring to, I've seen, both on Microsoft sites, I've seen on adsecurity.org. There's a lot of steps, or I should say a lot of resources that refer to these exact steps. So I would think it's pretty creditable. Maybe it's dated. I'm not sure. One thing that's interesting, though, we talk about doing all of this. What's one thing that if you don't do, you're not really buying yourself any time? LDAP-S.
Shoot.
Secure LDAP.
Okay.
I mean,
that's
ACL
not
firewalls.
on the box?
No. Well, not on our level. I mean, maybe in newer levels by default it is, but in 2008 R2, 2003 going to 2008 R2, you have to deal with the wonderful PKI infrastructure of Microsoft Windows, which I love so much. It's so handy and so smooth to use. I'm being very sarcastic here.
Yeah, you don't sound very serious.
It's a pain in the ass. I mean, it's gotten better, but not an 8-hour session for me, anyways. Well, maybe it continued 8 hours, but
I remember years ago we had a customer who ran a SQL server, and the data that they had in there was sensitive, HIPAA protected data.
I assume MS SQL, right?
MS SQL.
Yeah. Okay.
And they wanted to set up SSL encryption on their database connections to SQL Server, which is a thing that SQL Server supposedly supports.
And to add to that, HIPAA requires the connection to be secure, but at the time, this is like a year ago, not the data. It doesn't have to be stored in an encrypted manner.
Good. Yeah, no, this
I don't know if that's still current, but
this was over 10 years ago.
You talk about who was that big insurance company that leaked? Not Highmark.
I don't know.
They bought Highmark.
But this was I don't know.
Blue Cross company. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Go ahead.
I mean, maybe I could remember, but anyway.
But that was.
But anyway, this was like SQL Server. I don't know, 2000 or something. That's the era that we're talking about. And my coworker at the time, who was basically our Windows guy, I was the Linux guy, he was the Windows guy, spent 12 hours on the phone with Microsoft support trying to get this working.
They actually stayed on the phone with it for 12 hours?
Yeah, and at the end, it didn't work. After 12 hours, they're just like, we don't know why it's not working. And he's just like, well, what am I supposed to do? We don't know. It doesn't work. Like, but
wow. Now, if you're to say that was an Oracle product, they would say, oh, well, send us a diagnostic snapshot and we'll get back to you. Well, that's a feature.
Yeah, no, we ended up doing like an SSL or not an SSL, a VPN tunnel between the two servers.
Hey, that's actually
and
that's a good workaround. IPsec.
I don't remember
IPsec at the time, or
I don't remember what technology we used, but that was the way we solved it because we couldn't get SSL working the way it was supposed to work.
It was a good workaround.
Yeah, and Microsoft was like, I don't know, it doesn't work. It's like, what are you talking about? We just spent 12 hours on the phone with you. It's your product.
Wow. Oh, to add to what I was saying, that was Anthem. They own like a bunch of blue.
Okay. Health insurance. I hadn't heard about this one.
I remember the details coming out of it, and they were, I think, for the most part, HIPAA compliant. The connection between their applications was secure, but the data did not have to be stored in a secure manner. And I remember being very infuriated about that because it wasn't in the regulation. But if you have access to the data store, or even
well, I mean, data encrypted at rest, I think, is only marginally more secure than data that's not encrypted at rest.
Agreed. And I took a bigger breath after I thought about it more. But
if it's encrypted at rest and a server is compromised, that means that the keys which decrypt that data, because it has to be decrypted automatically in order for it to be live, are gonna also be compromised, or at least could also be compromised. So I mean, it protects you from somebody running into your data center and stealing drives.
Which is unlikely.
The drives could be encrypted.
This isn't Tron Legacy.
Yeah, right. So, like, but against the remote attack, if somebody is at the level where they're taking bits off of your server, they're probably going to get your keys.
Yeah. I know. I after I thought, I just remember being so infuriated about it and thinking about it like, well, that really, why am I upset about that? It doesn't really buy anything additionally.
Yeah,
but that was what they capitalized on.
I'm not saying that if you have the capability, you should not encrypt at rest because it's futile. It's another layer of defense, but I'm saying that, depending on how that data was leaked, being encrypted at rest may have made no difference whatsoever.
No, not at all. Not at all. And I don't remember the details. I just remember being very interested to see them suffer such a massive breach.
Right.
Yeah. Well, anyways, I think as I ventured down and you ventured down, it's kind of ironic that we're both going about this at the same time.
Yeah, well, you're
to see what else we could recap on.
You're in a different boat than I am, though.
Oh, for sure.
I'm part of the team of people that are doing this. There are other folks who are better versed in Active Directory than I am that are actually executing. You're in a scenario where it seems like you're more responsible for the whole thing. And
for right now.
And
I'm trying to get more people, but for right now, it's me.
You have a production environment that you need to carry along, where we're like starting from scratch.
That's true.
We've never had Active Directory in the organization that I'm in, and now we will. So we get a chance to start fresh and make it all perfect, or as perfect as can be, which is actually, I don't know, it feels like a better place to be.
Totally, because you have way less risk. So when I was saying renaming the administrator account really scared me. I wasn't sure what cabinets I was going to be opening when things didn't work.
You don't know when some previous administrator just said, you know what, SQL Server is going to run as the domain admin, and now you went and changed the username, and now SQL Server crashes on some machine halfway across the network.
and no lie, we talked about the event monitoring of the administrator account when I renamed it. After I changed the password and renamed, I did it all in the same shot. Tested access, made sure it replicated. I was fine. Some emails stopped going out for various business processes, and I find that there is a bunch of PowerShell scripts
that were running as administrator
at domain admin level, scheduled tasks.
Oh God! Oh no!
Yeah. So
my script wouldn't work, so I ran it as domain admin. What?
Well, hey, there's the easy way, and then there's the right way. Just easy way is good enough, right? MVP.
Right. Hey, as long as it works, that's all that matters.
Oh God, yeah. So I ran into a couple of those, but it was pretty interesting. Discovering what was using that account in a very brute force manner. But yeah, thankfully, no SQL accounts, because a lot of the SQL stuff was stuff I set up years ago, and they have a dedicated account, so it's not a big deal. But I wasn't sure. Put it that way. It scared me a little bit. What really scared me was renaming the admin account and it not replicating. That really scared me. Like, what do I do in that situation?
Yeah, right.
Because I thought about that. I said, okay, I hope this works.
It's all broken.
Yeah, that would have been disastrous.
Everything is gone.
Yeah.
So see, that's the sort of thing where a staging environment is really handy.
Well, I mean, I have snapshots, so I could revert to a snapshot, but there's a lot of events that go on in that meantime of those items changing, so it would be kind of messy.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyways, so far so good. I think we could probably recap on it, especially once I get deeper into PKI. And all that funness.
Certainly. And I mean, I came into this slightly underprepared because we came up with this topic just sort of late this afternoon.
It's okay. We're still talking about it.
Well, no, I mean, I could certainly get a little more information about what we're starting to implement from a security perspective and see if that lends well to the conversation. I would love to hear more and more about securing Active Directory, because like I said, we're at a stage where now is the time to do the stuff to what we're building, and the more we have in place on day one, I think the better. We're running out of time though. We're hitting deadlines at this point, so
yeah, those damn dates. They always approach fast.
Yep.
Oh, cool. Good talk. I think there's a little bit of knowledge share there, and hopefully, if anybody else has comments, please feel free to hit me up or Gangrif up on any of the social networks.
Yeah, maybe we'll expand on Active Directory a little more in the future.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Definitely, it'd be an interesting topic. Identity management is a huge thing still. We wouldn't think it would be, but it's kind of the forgotten child, right? We have to rely on that. Wait, what? Kerberos authentication.
Identity is important? What are you talking about?
Are you using Radius? No. Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess we will call it a night for tonight then. If you folks want to watch this show happen live, you should subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just search for Iron Sysadmin on YouTube or go to ironsysadmin.com. We have a link up at the top in the menu bar for our YouTube channel. We've also got a Slack workspace. Yes, make sure you hit the bell. That way you'll know when we go live, because we're terrible at schedules. We have a Slack workspace if you'd like to join in. We've got a couple of listeners in there. We also, we're all in there, so you can chat with us directly, or if you had any feedback or whatever, that's cool. You can find us on Twitter and Facebook. On Twitter, we're Iron Sysadmin, of course. On Facebook, I think it's just /Iron Sysadmin. I don't remember how Facebook does their URLs. Again, these are all links you can find on ironsysadmin.com.
You know what we should
subscribe.
Do?
What?
Go ahead. Sorry, I thought you were done.
You can subscribe to us wherever you can find podcasts. If you go somewhere and don't find us, let us know. We'll get ourselves listed.
It is very important. Accessibility is a necessity in this world. What I wanted to add is, we talk about all these social networks and ways to communicate, ways to talk. Should we propose a Keybase team, open team at some point? I don't know how the joining process. Huh?
We should run our own Diaspora node.
Ooh.
And then we'll have our own Mastodon, and then maybe a Keybase.
I forgot all about Mastodon. Yeah. Oh my god!
And then, I don't know. There's probably 1,000 other distributed social networks we could run. We're gonna run all of them, and then we're gonna try to interlink them all.
All right, sounds good. So do you still use Mastodon?
No.
Have you still played with it? Because I remember you talking about it a long time ago.
I had joined a Mastodon, and then I sort of lost interest, and then I forgot my password, and I lost my 2-factor token, and I said, you know what? I don't care. I just don't care.
I don't care if my data is inaccessible. I don't care.
Yeah, I just don't care. And last but not least, folks, if you want to help support what we're doing, get us on Patreon. Patreon.com/IronSysAdmin. Every little bit helps. So, we appreciate all of the patrons that we have, even though there aren't many. It's enough. It's enough to let us know you guys care. So that's cool. Basically, I've been using it to pay for the S3 hosting for our episodes. That's about all we get out of it.
We're using the cloud, people. It's all about the cloud.
Well, I mean, I could host them here in my basement, but
In
people
your
were saying
private cloud?
Yeah, in my private cloud. People were saying the downloads were taking too long. So I thought, what the hell? I'll throw it on S3. And no one's complained since. So cool. And the S3 bucket is public.
Ooh, scary. Oh, wait, we want it that way.
Mainly because it has to be.
Go ahead, scrape our public bucket. We have nothing to hide.
That's like a dirty word nowadays. Your S3 bucket is public. Every time I upload a new episode and I click the button that says make it public, Amazon is like, oh my God, don't do that. Like, but it's a download. It's supposed to be public.
You know, Nate. One thing we're not leaving our users privy to is accessibility. All those outages back in Virginia in AWS last year could have been prevented if people would have scaled out their services between data centers instead of having it all in one bucket. So, guys, hate to tell you, but we're going to let you down with that. If they have an outage in the area we're having our bucket, sorry, it's a temporary thing.
I mean, you know what, folks?
Someday.
Just going to have to live with that.
I don't think it's life or death. I was just making a joke. I just remember that being oh my God, my website's out on AWS. It's like, okay, scale it up.
Yeah, right.
Crickets. Anyways.
All right, folks. So I think that's an episode for tonight. We're going to call it a night, and we're going to play the 40. Outro music, and we will see you on episode 41 in 2 weeks. Thanks, everyone, for listening.
Thank you, guys.
All right. It looks like our YouTube viewer had to go to a meeting. So, Robert, if you come back and watch this later, thanks for chatting with us for the first half of the episode, and I hope your meeting went well.
Yes,
productive meetings down there in Australia. So that's awesome. All right, folks, we're going to stop the broadcast. Thanks for watching.
Thank you. Good night.